The Wonder Years, the hum goes on forever. Album review, let's chat about it. Hey friends, what's going on? John here from What's Spinning here tonight to chat about this latest album from the Wonder Years, Pennsylvania-based emo and pop punk outfit. They have been making some pretty big waves over the last decade, and for a while I did see why, even though I've never been that much into their very early albums. It wasn't until the likes of Suburbia that I caught on. The Upsides as well. Hearing these albums, I thought the band was onto something. Now, to say that these albums were anything new or wildly thought-provoking in the world of pop punk and emo would probably be a little bit of a lie, but it did bring me back to a simpler time in the genre where I enjoyed bands like Saves the Day and Get Up Kids. Material here was heartfelt, well-performed, incredibly catchy, and while not perfect of an album, I thought The Greatest Generation was pretty solid as well. But I wanted something a little bit bigger and bolder and more life-affirming from the band. I thought they could pull something out, and they did just that with No Closer to Heaven. This was an album that blew my mind when I first heard it. It is so epic and heartfelt, and one of the best wrote albums in pop punk and emo in the last decade. It instantly brought them up to speed with the genre and put them at the same level as other modern favorites like Pup and Jeff Rosenstock. Now, originally their last album, Sister Cities, I gave a very positive review to. I enjoyed it quite a bit when it came out. It's still okay, but it did lessen on me over the years. Now, leading up to this new album, I thought the singles were very hit and miss, and honestly, I was a little worried about the band's output this time around. Shall we chat about it? This album starts off with Doors I Painted Shut, and yeah, it's not very good, is it? I mean, listen, being a little sheltered and sounding a little awkward in the world of emo and pop punk should be a positive, but this just sounds hard to listen to. This sounds like it's their first release. It is not. This instrumental is dime a dozen. The performances are pretty shaky as well, not in a classy way, and instantly I'm just kind of shrugging at this. And you know what? I will say there's some really great tracks on here. Then we get the Paris of Nowhere, and if you're looking for the fluff on this album, it's right here. There was a time where the Wonder Years were pumping out genuine anthems that, God, made my heart sing, and now here we are, they're making anthems about Nick Foles of all people. Nick Foles! What the hell is this? Even outside of that, track has no backbone. On paper, it kind of sounds like some okay modern emo, but like, hold this up to any track on Suburbia or No Closer to Heaven. This instrumental has no teeth to it either, and you can forget about any kind of emotion. It was when I first heard Summer Clothes as a single that I began to really worry about this album. And listen, the band is totally capable of doing a more stripped down tune. We've seen that over the years. But this is a lukewarm, limp ballad with no heart whatsoever. It's one of the worst tracks here. The songwriting is genuine crap. This instrumental is very bland. It's actually really cheesy and a really good example of what makes modern emo so unbearable at times. Songs about death really upset me too, just because I really love the hazy, very downtrodden atmosphere on this track. It's really something different from the band. But the riff here, like, are they overcompensating or something? Like, I don't have a problem with a heavy riff. There's some real good ones on this album. This just sounds like they're trying too hard. I don't know, I just feel like the Wonder Years have not only lost a step, they've lost a big step. Not to say that there's no good material on here. There is. Wyatt's song, Your Name, this track has some guts to it. It's fired up, it's passionate, it's got an anthemic instrumental that really sticks with you. Like here, at least they're not sounding like they're about to be completely outlapped by bands like Pup. And yes, this may be a little bit more cheesy than I like my emo, but they make it work, and this chorus pops hard. While some of the other singles from this album kind of steered me away from it, I heard Oldest Daughter, and I actually wanted to give it a try. I still really like it. It's one of the most true to form tracks here. It's really heartfelt. It's got a great emotional hook once again. For modern pop punk and emo, this hits all the right buttons. Now, next up is Cardinals 2. They had some big shoes to fill here. They're pumping out a sequel to one of my favorite tracks on No Closer to Heaven. Not only that, you're going to try and make a sequel to it on an album that is very lukewarm and average at best. It takes a lot of guts, but they really do nail it. It lives up to its gigantic shoes. For a slow burner, this is gigantic. It has this big, vast atmosphere. It just sounds gigantic. It's just one of the best tracks here, actually. Lost in the Lights is surprisingly raw. This one actually took me off guard. I love the driving riff and the vocal performances. They are some of the best on this entire album. If you're looking for a very real track, look no further. It reminds you of just who the hell you're dealing with at the end of the day and what the band is capable of. I wish I could really love this album. I really wish I could enjoy it, because I'm in the mood for some good emo. Maybe it's the fall, but I'm in the mood for it, but this album is all over the place. Like, you hear Low Tide, and the Wonder Years for a few minutes are really onto something. I love the energy here. The urgency is something that I haven't heard on any other track here. And because of all that, this already very emotional vocal performance hits home even harder. And Old Friends Like Lost Teeth is one of the most passionate tracks here. I don't know what took them so long. I mean, you can point out that it does sound like maybe a track or two that they've done in the past. You're not wrong. But a hint of nostalgia and a real rocking track is what I needed right now, and that's exactly what this is. Also, that very heavy sort of post-hardcore breakdown did not need to be here. I was shocked by it, but it's done really well. But then we get tracks like Laura and the Beehive, another stripped down acoustic ballad, and it is putting me to freaking sleep. It's terrible. It's not even beautiful or like heartfelt, and you can forget any progression here. That's off the table entirely. I think it's the worst track here. And you're the reason I don't want the world to end. It's a really rough finale, honestly. This is the sort of glistening, overproduced ballad that I just hope they would steer clear from, because there's no heart to this. Like, this literally, at points, sounds like the Wonder Years doing their best Maddie Healy impression. And yes, it does pick up by the end of it, but that doesn't change my thought. This track is rough to listen to. This album is rough to listen to. Yes, it has its highlights. Yes, there's moments where you remember exactly what the Wonder Years can do, and that's kind of upsetting because of just how non-effective so much of this album is. Half the time they sound lost, half the time it sounds like they've completely lost track of what makes them who they are, and the other third of the time they're putting me to sleep. It's really rough to listen to and not a consistent album. It's all over the place. I'm feeling a very strong 5 on this album, but let me know what you all think down below. If you like the video, be sure to give us a like, give us a subscribe, and let me know down below what you would like for me to chat about in the future. And until next time, have a great day, friends.